Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today we've got a corker of a match for you. This is a ranked battle on the North American server. The star of today's show is... I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that. Jesuit 13? You know, we're just going to call him Jezza. Why not? This is a Tier 10 ranked battle on the North American server. Jezza is in the British premium Tier 10 battleship HMS Thunderer. Although the other two stars of this show are the Marceau, the French Tier 10 destroyer on the enemy team, and the Shimakaze on Jezza's team, both for completely different reasons. The Marceau is actually not terrible. The Shimakaze? Yeah, well, you be the judge. Both teams have 2 battleships, 2 cruisers and 3 destroyers. Both teams have 1 radar. The Des Moines on Jezza's team, and the sort of budget version of the Des Moines, the Salem, on the enemy team. Functionally, almost exactly the same, but the major difference is that the Salem's radar has shorter range but lasts longer. There are other differences, but for the purposes of being the team's only radar cruiser, that's the one that really matters. Now, here on the Sea of Fortune map, radar coverage of those 2 central caps, one of which is inside the other one, is crucial. And initially, at least, I was watching the Des Moines up ahead and thinking, good boy, that's exactly what you need to do and where you need to be going. Unfortunately for the Des Moines, and for the team as a whole, his good starting move is going to be largely wasted. There's a Smarland on the team who's heading for Cap Circle Charlie, in the mistaken belief that nobody on the enemy team is going to bother going for it. Well, not entirely mistaken. He did get a nasty surprise when he saw the Marceau there. But the Marceau isn't actually interested in capping. Something that's going to be a cause of great consternation for the rest of the Marceau's team, and which you're going to see in chat later on. Good to see that Jezza took a shot at the Marceau. To be fair, it was the only target available. But if you see an enemy destroyer, you should almost always shoot at the enemy destroyer. And he did. Speaking of enemy destroyers, there's definitely somebody inside Cap Circle A. And the Des Moines is in a perfect spot to radar and expose anybody on the other side of that island. Unfortunately, there doesn't really seem to be anybody on Jezza's team, even though Jezza is reloading high explosive in anticipation of shooting at enemy destroyers, but there isn't really anybody on Jezza's team in a position to shoot anybody who does get radared, although the friendly Halland might be in a position to send some torpedoes over there, and has been spotted and is getting shot at by the enemy Salem, who presumably has counter-radared, and the enemy Halland. Unfortunately for Jezza, he had the high explosive loaded, so he doesn't instantly delete the Salem. But look at what the friendly Des Moines is doing. A Salem, a Halland, and there's a Grosser Kurfürst been spotted over there as well. And he's coming out from around the side of the island in order to take them all on. And there's a Thunderer. Well, Jezza switched back to the armour piercing and managed to give the Salem an almighty bitch slapping. Double Citadel, not bad. The Halland barely survived being radared by the Salem. His torpedoes appear to have missed everything. And the Des Moines is now stuck on the wrong side of an island, with his radar expired, a Grosser Kurfürst, a Thunderer, a Salem, and a Halland, all shooting at him. The Des Moines is determined to at least take the Halland down before his inevitable demise, and he's going to be successful, and not in the way that you might imagine. Pay attention to the battle reports above the minimap to see exactly what happens over there, but I'll be sure to comment on it when it happens. Jezza's follow-up salvo against the Salem, not nearly as successful as the last one. Meanwhile, I'd like to take your attention away from the immediate events unfolding in front of us and just have a look at the minimap, at the position of the friendly Shimakaze. Now, I don't know exactly what it is the Shimakaze thinks he's going to achieve over there, other than a whole bunch of nothing. But on the one hand, this is actually the first time in this game he's in a position to launch his torpedoes at anything, even though there isn't anything for him to launch his torpedoes at, without first hitting and sinking a whole bunch of friendlies, because up until now, he's been hiding behind the battleships. The one thing that I can state with a relative degree of certainty is that he's getting awfully lonely over there, and don't worry, he's about to go and hide behind the battleships again, and once again be unable to launch his torpedoes at anything without hitting and sinking a whole bunch of friendlies. And there, did you catch it? The Des Moines, he got the Halland, he rammed him right before the Thunderer took him out. Speaking of which, here comes the Thunderer. So, Thunderer and Grosser Kurfürst, both battleships armed with, or potentially armed with 18-inch guns. And Jezza is the only thing that they can see to shoot at. Now, he gets a very nice opening salvo off against the Thunderer over there. No citadels, but a huge wodge of armor-piercing damage. Jezza's problem here, of course, well, he's got two problems. First, the Halland's torpedoes have completely missed the Grosser Kurfürst. And two, he's got a pair of battleships shooting at him. AP from the Grosser Kurfürst, but he's angled. Much more effective high explosive from the Thunderer. And his own return AP salvo against the Thunderer, admittedly it was only the 4 rear guns, but against a broadsiding target like that, very disappointing result. More, largely ineffectual armour piercing from the Grosser Kurfürst. The Halland's managed to get more torpedoes away, does have a very fast torpedo reload. Second salvo with 4 armour piercing shells. Very disappointing, although the Thunderer on the enemy team has switched to the armour piercing as well, and his return salvo was about as ineffective as the Grosser Kurfürst. Enemy Schmalland spotted in a one-on-one gunfight against the friendly Schmalland. Jezza doing what he can to help out. Enemy destroyer spotted, shoots at the enemy destroyer. Another AP salvo incoming from the Grosser Kurfürst, and this time he's caught Jezza in the turn, but he basically gets away with it. And it's here where I think it's safe to say Jezza makes a bit of a mistake, because he's got the flat broadside of that Grosser Kurfürst to shoot at. But he holds his fire, and there are two possible reasons for this. One, not a very good reason, maybe he thought that the Halland's torpedoes were going to sink him, and the Halland got 3 torpedo hits, plus 1 on the Thunderer. But even if all 10 of the Halland's frankly anemic torpedoes had hit the Grosser Kurfürst, it wouldn't have been enough to sink him. It's also possible, and more likely, that he wanted to finish the turn, since he had gone undetected after the Grosser Kurfürst's last salvo, and get himself angled up against their guns before revealing himself by firing again. And to be fair, he did take minimal damage from the Grosser Kurfürst's return salvo and from the Thunderer's follow-up salvos, and did at least another 17,000 damage against the Grosser Kurfürst. I can't help but feel, however, that if he had taken the shot when he had the Grosser Kurfürst broadside, he probably would have done a lot more damage. The Grosser Kurfürst still wouldn't have been able to return fire until Jezza had angled up, because his guns were reloading, and he had the time to complete angling before the Thunderer could get a shot at him as well. A minor point, but if I don't point it out, somebody else will. Now, that was a very impressive high explosive salvo. Presumably, he thought he was going to have to shoot at an angled battleship, loaded up the HE, but the return salvo from the Thunderer, also high explosive, did an equal amount of damage and set a double fire. The team have just lost the Schmalland, taken out by the Salem over there. And, well, not great, but not terrible armour-piercing salvo against the enemy Tier 10 radar cruiser. The friendly Thunderer up ahead is pushing right into the teeth of a crossfire up there. And Jezza recognises that he needs to support him. It's likely that that Thunderer has bitten off a bit more than he can chew and is probably going to die here, because that's an awful lot of ships. And they're all shooting at him. But he's probably going to be able to do enough damage. Come on. Broadside Grosser Kurfürst. Somebody shoot him. Okay. Jezza will shoot at him. This will be a kill. The Thunderer's down. Didn't really seem to achieve much. The Grosser Kurfürst is down. Jezza probably doesn't want to sail into the same location that the friendly Thunderer just did, or the same thing will happen to him. And it's here where I'd like to draw your attention once again to the friendly Shimakaze, because the Marceau has achieved what he's been trying to do this whole game, get around behind Jezza's team. And the Shimakaze, who has so far never been in a position to launch a torpedo at anything, because there's either been nothing for him to launch torpedoes at, or he hasn't been able to launch anything safely because he insists on positioning himself behind a whole bunch of friendlies, has now decided, in a Shimakaze, to get into a gunfight with the Marceau. Now, those of you who don't actually play World of Warships, but do enjoy watching the videos, and I know there are more than a few of you out there, but you're not likely to understand just how mind-bogglingly stupid that is. Let me try to put that into terms that even you can understand. What that Shimakaze has just chosen to do, his first contribution to his team in this game, is the World of Warships equivalent of Dr. Stephen Hawking getting into a fist fight with Mike Tyson. Dr. Stephen Hawking was a very talented man, but I'm sure you'll agree that talented though he was, his talent did not stretch to the field of fist fighting. The Shimakaze is dead, gunned down by the Marceau. Well, of course he is. So they've got a Smarland, a Thunderer and a Hindenburg in front of them. They've got a Marceau behind them. They're down to 3 ships, they've just lost the Shimakaze. Although, to be completely fair, the loss of the Shimakaze probably just means that the team's average IQ level went up by quite a few points. And in further good news, the Halland actually managed to land some effective torpedoes on something and sank the Smarland. To be fair to the Halland, his getting radared right at the start of the game and pounded by the enemy Salem does mean that he has had to play the rest of this game. Oh dear. And he got spotted and sunk by the Hindenburg. You know, I try. I really do try. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to come up with excuses for them and justify their performance, and they just don't make it easy for me, do they? Right, Jezza and the Venezia against the Hindenburg, who's been playing it very, very well. Probably done a huge amount of damage and still has pretty much all of his health. Let's not forget the enemy team also have a Thunderer of their own, who's probably the biggest source of nightmares for the Venezia over there, and of course the Marceau, who is getting shot at by the Venezia. Good boy Venezia. Unfortunately, he appears to have missed, and the Marceau is in the process of capping Charlie. The rest of the enemy team are not too impressed with that Marceau's performance, because apparently he's done nothing but cruise the 9 and 10 line the whole game. But, well, he does have a kill. He is capping, and he's capping in a position where he's able to get shots off against the Venezia without being detected. So, you know, I'm just saying, he's not terrible, is he? Jezza, meanwhile, doing the right thing here. Oh, Marceau torpedoes. Venezia counter torpedoes. The Venezia's safe. The problem here, of course, because there's an enemy destroyer in play, neither of these ships even have hydro, let alone radar. Venezia is a great ship with serious firepower, but next to zero utility. And the Thunderer obviously doesn't have hydro or radar. And they're outnumbered. And just the fact that the enemy team has a destroyer has got to be making these two incredibly nervous. On the one hand, preemptive torpedoes there from the Venezia. I think the Venezia suspects that he's about to get flanked by a Hindenburg. If that's the case, that guy's really good. Because they are about to get flanked by a Hindenburg. And I'm sure the enemy team are yelling at that Marceau right now after he's finished capping. Spot these bloody targets for us, will you? But the nature of where they are, and there is the Hindenburg, but the nature of where these guys are makes it extremely hazardous for the destroyer attempting to do any spotting. Because of the tight, narrow confines of the channels in between these islands, in order to get eyes onto these guys, unless he goes incredibly wide, he's going to get spotted himself. And the Marceau, who isn't quite as stupid as the... Oh, shit. Okay, this is bad. They've caught each other with broadsides. And that kind of hurt. But it hurt the enemy Thunderer more. The problem now, of course, is that there's nobody available to follow up on it and finish the enemy Thunderer off. They're not even within secondary range. I mean, if the Venezia had been in a position to follow up on it, the Thunderer would have shot at the Venezia first and would have killed him. So Jez was pretty much always going to have to handle that enemy Thunderer himself, and he very, very nearly did it, although he very, very nearly got handled himself. And oh look, nobody visible, but they are detected. Do you remember what I was saying about the Marceau earlier? How if he wanted to spot these guys, he was going to have to go very, very wide? That's exactly what he's done. He's up here. So the enemy team can see them and knows which way they're going, and they're having to guess which way the enemy Thunderer is going. And here comes the Hindenburg. Now remember, the Hindenburg has torpedoes with a 6 kilometer range, and he's inside torpedo range. But at the same time, the Hindenburg does not want to get bitch slapped by a Thunderer and a Venezia, so he angles in, which means no torpedoes. But why did the Hindenburg come out like that? What does he know that we don't? Jezza, casting anxious glances over to the left, expecting to see a Thunderer popping up at any second. There's the Hindenburg's hydro, obviously concerned about the Venezia's torpedoes, but, well, he's completely safe from the Venezia's torpedoes as long as Jezza is here. Jezza aiming high, attempting to knock out the Hindenburg's turrets and failing, and now the Hindenburg is absolutely going to launch torpedoes from this side. There they go. But committing to the torpedo rush means that Jezza finally has that flat broadside that he can shoot at, and even the Hindenburg's turtleback isn't going to save him. And by some miracle, Jezza is still alive. Although only just. How many hit points? Yep, both of them. Technically, you could argue that that's exactly one more than Jezza actually needs. I'm sure he'd be happier with more, though, and he is out of heals. Which means that the Thunderer is very definitely a Venezia problem right now. Although, Jezza, game to the last, swinging the guns around, ready to assist the Venezia if the Thunderer survives coming around the corner of that island. And he might not. Certainly hope not, because I'm sure the last thing that Jezza wants to happen right now is to get spotted. The Marceau, almost certainly shooting at the Venezia. Oh, and they've taken each other out. The Venezia got the Thunderer. And the Marceau got the Venezia. So it's one-on-one. Thunderer versus Marceau, which would be a dodgy lineup in the best of circumstances, but these are definitely not the best of circumstances. Generally, the destroyer always has the advantage against the battleship. But this destroyer has the advantage against the battleship that only has 2 hit points left and is run out of heals. However, this battleship does have a 300-point lead, and there's only 3 minutes of this game left. To his very great credit, Jezza realises that he is winning, and he absolutely definitely does not need to win any harder than he already is. He just needs to get the hell out of dodge. Unfortunately, he's running away from a Marceau, which is an extremely fast French destroyer, but because the Marceau went as wide as he did in order to spot, Jezza has one hell of a head start. He very wisely takes a right turn around the side of this island. He's got 1 island between himself and the Marceau. 2 would be better. All he has to do is stay alive. But, well, that's a lot easier said than done when you only have 2 hit points, no heals, and a single high explosive shell will kill you. So right now, as well as sweating bullets, with his sphincter muscle doing the old 50 pence, 5 pence, 50 pence, 5 pence impression, Jezza's playing the mind games. He's trying to guess, what's the Marceau going to do? Is he going to just head south as quickly as possible to get eyes on the Thunderer? Or is he going to go wide to get as much open water between himself and the Thunderer as possible to ensure that he can spot the Thunderer without being spotted in return? Jezza doesn't know, but all he can do is play the hand that he's dealt, and that's when the Marceau starts flipping the centre cap. So he is rushing south as quickly as possible. Because if he had headed over to the west, he would be seeing Jezza right now. And that wouldn't be doing anything good for Jezza's sphincter muscles. But he's taken the obvious route, and he's in cap circle Bravo as well. He's flipping them both. Oh, Jezza needs to get another island between himself and the Marceau. Can he get there in time? That's where he needs to be. On the far side of the island up ahead. Alpha has been flipped. Bravo is in the process of being flipped. I'm pretty sure that the Marceau understands that he's never going to win on points. He's just heading south, following Jezza's route as quickly as he possibly can. And if you are in a Marceau, that's at least 44 knots, or very, very fast indeed. The Marceau also has the benefit of knowing exactly which way to go to find Jezza, because as you can see by the indicator up here, he has the radio location skill. But Jezza's almost there. It is so close. Just a few seconds more, he'll be nice and safe on the far side of the island. And there only are a few seconds more. He's nearly there. He's undetected. He's located, but he's undetected. He knows where the Marceau's going to be. He's got his guns pointing in that direction, just in case. Come on. Come on, Jezza. That's it. Oh, shit, he's spotted. Oh, shots incoming. No. 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 Ah, first salvo missed. And that's it. The clock ran out. The second salvo didn't miss. So, did the Marceau get him? Oh yeah, the Marceau got him. The Marceau was the last ship left alive in that battle. But he got him after the countdown expired. Which means that technically, when the battle actually ended, Jezza was alive and ahead on points. Hey, yeah, that was a win. I don't know how it could have been any closer. I mean, I've seen some pretty close results. I don't know if that's the closest result I've ever seen, but it's definitely right up there with them. So, well done, Jezza. Commiserations, it has to be said, to the Marceau. Although, well, I don't know. Who can say? If he'd played more aggressively from the start, he might not have been alive at the end of the match. Either way, Jezza won, and that's as it should be. And I hope you enjoyed today's video, because that's it for today. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.